Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express, and as promised, on this side we take a look at that letter from Kangata to the president, alleging that the BBI report is suffering a lack of support in central Kenya. Now, that is something that has elicited support and, of course, condemnation in equal measures. Some say it was a breach of protocol, while others feel there is some weight to what it was being said in the letter, and therefore it must be addressed. Now, let's take a look at a clip that we had last night whereby Sophia Onuna talked to one of the leaders and just to find out why this is happening, and of course dig deeper into the details of that that letter and why it's even in the public eye. So let's take a look at that.
The reason you may say this is an opinion of a person, but in the letterhead of that letter was the office of the leader of majority, rather the leader, majority whip, I beg your pardon, majority chief whip in the Senate. So this is a leader in the Jubilee party, the president's party, the co-partner in the handshake that led to the BBI. So that when there is a breakdown, to which even the governors in their statement earlier today responding to this, all the governors from Mount Kenya region, again alluding to the office being abused, or there should have been systems or structures in ventilating his views on this. Today, so when that comes out, and this is coming afterward the Msambweni election, and we had Raila Odinga again talking about a litmus test, they lost that election. So do you see the worrying perception is the question with all of these things, whether true or not?
I think because I come from that region.
Yes.
And I believe people in Mount Kenya region, which I come from, are not driven by emotions on some of these issues. I think they are more driven by interest. Mount Kenya people are people who are not even very decisive till the end when they see what kind of interest are catered for in that document. And I don't think it's accurate to say that the document is unpopular in the region, because we are not even gotten to that level of even doing the civic education. We are not even done with verification of signatures, and it's work in progress. And Sophia, I think, is also inaccurate to say that the document is unpopular, not forgetting that we have just corrected 4.4 million signatures. And in that 4.4 million signatures, 25% are from Mount Kenya region. So I would have difficulties believing anybody who is trying to say that the document is not popular in the region. And remember, we are just in the initial stages of this process. Yeah. We are verifying the signatures, including the signatures from Mount Kenya. We are going to go to the next level of the county assemblies. We are going to go to the next level of Parliament and the Senate. And eventually, we are also going to go with the document en masse, and having printed very many copies, and we can be able now to engage people and tell them what is in it for them in this document. So it is very inaccurate, and it's actually very premature for somebody to claim that this document has no support from Mount Kenya region, I think. And I think you also saw, he even said it's not scientific. So it's not even something that we should be having a discussion about. Even the scientific, and he has now come out and said he's not the author of that document. And we don't know that, and all this is propaganda that is being peddled around Mount Kenya, and trying to have a narrative that is very well choreographed to be able now to portray like the document is not popular in Mount Kenya.
So this is a concern, though, raised in that letter, and I follow the senator on the Twitter account from which he tweeted taking ownership of that letter to the president. So it could be argued that this is Jubilee operatives, quote-unquote, trying to save face with this other letter denying that. But that aside, something interesting that he mentioned there, because he said it still got 4 million signatures. But there's something he mentions in that letter about the role of the provincial administration, and I believe we have those graphics. If we could quickly just put them up on screen. The role of the provincial administration, he goes on to say, and other forms of hard tactics in BBI mobilization is being framed as an example of government using its hard power to force its citizens to endorse BBI. If you have those graphics, we'll put them up for you, but that's just a snippet of what's been written. So talk to me about that, because then this is a person arguing in this letter that it's hard tactics being utilized.
I think it's very, very inaccurate to say that we use the provincial administration to correct the signatures, because I was in charge of that process. And I remember I had coordinators in the entire, for example, he's talking about Mount Kenya region. I had more than 14 regions. I had coordinators all the way to the ward level. They were coordinated. In fact, maybe what the provincial administration could have offered maybe was security. But we had our own coordinators who corrected signatures. And I even went to the regions to correct the signatures myself, and then we brought them to the office. So I think it's is inaccurate to claim that. And I think he's even come out and said that he's not the author of that. And I want to invite you, Sophie, maybe tomorrow or the day after, you can invite him so that we can be able to get the truth on exactly which is which, because we are getting lost. But if he's talking about the region that I come from, and today you allow me to talk about Mount Kenya region. Mount Kenya people, we are not driven by emotions. We are driven by interest. And we always take time to make important decisions after consultation, a thorough consultation. So I don't think it's a bit premature even to claim that. And he even came out and said it's not scientific, and maybe it's just another talk in the, he talked about something maybe in a shopping center, or maybe it's not.
And now that is the co-chair of the BBI Secretariat, Dennis Wawiru, talking to Sophia Nuna yesterday, being adamant that the BBI is not suffering a lack of support in central Kenya, and saying that they're not even at the point where they can gauge the amount of support it has, because, you know, they haven't even done civic education and go through all the processes to ensure that, you know, we can accurately decipher whether or not that is lacking in terms of, lacking in terms of support, particularly in central Kenya. But let's humor those allegations that are coming out through this letter that was sent to the president by Irungu Kang'ata. Honorable Gakuyu, do you think it would be, if at all it is suffering a lack of support, would it be an issue of the interests, an issue of the content of the document, as opposed to the politics surrounding it and the players in the whole handshake issue and the BBI?
Yes. The matter is not a little matter. It's a weighty matter. And I think because the author of the matter, or the author of the letter, has not denied the letter. That tells you that Kangata authored the letter. And that is very bold of him. And I really congratulate his boldness. Because sometimes politicians tend to work under influence, and therefore sometimes it's very hard for you to speak your mind or your opinion. You always, most of the time, tend to speak of others. But in this particular case of this particular letter, let me say, in terms of the popularity of BBI in Central Province, this is a clear case. And Irungu Kang'ata is totally talking the truth of the matter. Because me, I belong to Central Region. That's where I belong. And therefore, talking from my own kind of survey, I can tell you openly that we have seen various areas in Central, including Keno, where BBI team wearing those teachers of BBI have been evicted away. And this tells you that it's like the kind of basket they are trying to sell to the Central Region is not well received. And this one, I can tell you for sure, from the beginning, there was a big issue, and this issue actually twisted the minds of the Central Region. This is an area where there was that touted 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. And therefore, the Central Region, most of them expected, yes, this is the baby that is going to be born. But what they got in the BBI is something totally different. Because when we talk of 1 man, 1 shilling, then we are talking of the BBI proposes of 3 shillings, a shilling that will not, any other, that a Kenyan, whoever cannot receive more than three times than you. But this is a formula that was not there before, and that was not the formula once that has been expected. Number 2, there is an issue of GMR in Central Region. This is where you find farmers also expected that, in fact, during this particular process of BBI, the issue of agriculture will be widely looked into, and the issue to do with GMR is going to be considered. This is where the government will commit itself with having what we call a subsidy, where their prices of their commodities sometimes markets gets what we call DDoS, and where maybe the expectation of their produce sometimes does not get to what expectations. But in the BBI, yes, there is a window where it talks of the blue economy, agriculture, and various, but there is no commitment to that element of minimum or that element of GMR. Number two is that you have listened to the Central Region voice very well. The rush in which this particular document is being pushed to is a very suspicious rush.
Okay.
Because this is BBI, which is not the original BBI. Because BBI 1, it was like everybody had, every Kenyan was in what we call an agreement with. But this BBI 2, even those members of that committee of hardship, those who were there, some of them were very clear, saying they never been allowed even to peruse the document before signing it. So they were asked to sign it by faith. And this tells you that even Wanjiku today has not been given an opportunity to read and understand it, and expect those who are able to reach the document through what we call those soft materials. The issue to do with the original Wanjiku, who is maybe a farmer down there, who is required to be taken through the document, through what we call that process of what we call education process, BBI education process.
Yes.
It has not been given an opportunity, and I am sure it is still an opportunity where it requires to be given a nod. At this point, at this point of time, we are in where I can say we are just nearing to where we call a close of the day. This is next year is an election year election. Maybe.
In your view, therefore, that apart from being brave, Mr. Honorable Kang'ata actually has a point in terms of it lacking support because of some of the finagling that happened when it came to these issues. Bashir, when you look at the content in the BBI and this allegation, do you see how the Central Kenya might not be for this particular document?
You see, Trix, part of the issues that were circulating since yesterday is whether or not he is the owner of that letter, whether or not he's the author, whether or not he's the owner. Those are the issues that are also at play. I think whether or not he's the one who authored that letter should not be so important at this stage because the senator is around. Since yesterday, he has not. He could call for a press conference and do a clarity on this, whether or not he's the author. Since he has not done that, according to me, I conclude that he is the author of that letter. On the other part, the other issue is the contents of that letter. The other issue is, can a senator express his freedom, his right to freedom of expression? Can a senator share his opinion on such a very important constitutional discourse? These are very important issues. Most importantly, he is not the first senator who has done a letter to the president. Others have done on different subjects. Why is this one eliciting such reactions? In my view, Trix, the contents of that letter resonates with majority of Kenyans. On the other part, another thing that I wish to add is that whatever Honorable Irungu Kangata has authored, I was asking myself, might he have taken up this with the government, maybe with the State House, to try and share issues with the head of state? Has he been frustrated? Has he been declined? Was he unable to get audience with the head of state? Is that what has actually forced him to go this populist method? The other issue is being a senator, being the majority whip, does it mean he cannot oppose such an important discourse? Does it mean he cannot share his opinion? This is merely an opinion. He is just a senator who has shared his opinion. Yes, indeed, he's a senior person who holds a senior position in the Senate. But what we need to appreciate is ultimately the ball lies within the hands of Kenyans under Article 257. They are the ones who will vote on whether or not they shall give it a yes or a no. These other issues are political issues that are surrounding it. Six, I think, in my view, those who are now opposing or those who are now criticizing the senator for his letter should not be doing so. They should rather appreciate the contents, draw lessons, to strategize on how best they can have this process go through.
But just to interfere, sorry to interfere with your thought process, but then there's here a quote that says from some of those who are criticizing, as you say, the senator, they say such a breach of protocol is unacceptable. It raises question why a senior member of leadership in parliament would choose a cheap populist method to address this issue to the president, whose office is just a few steps away from parliament. What's your reaction to that breach of protocol that's being alleged?
You see, Trix, there is nowhere written that a Senate majority whip must go to the president for him to air his grievances. That is not anchored in law. That is just a political statement that they're making. But the expectation of majority of the politicians who are the pro-BBI, they expected him to maybe share his issues or his sentiments with the head of state maybe in private. But the person who can now dissuade us of all these rumors and these propagandas is the senator himself. He can tell us why he has opted for this populist method. But the big issue again is this a problem? I can do a letter, any person can do a letter, the senator can do a letter, he can share his opinion, I can do mine in the standard. Any person has the right, he has the rights under Article 38 and Article 32 of the Constitution. That is not a problem. What is at stake is, in fact, according to him, and what has caught my attention is the senator has actually, if I quote him, that the BBI has lost, or it does not command as much influence within the central Kenya region. In fact, some of us were asking ourselves, does it even command a lot of influence in the country at large? So any other Kenyan, especially a Kenyan from the northern part of this country, I'll ask myself, the president being one of the proponents of this BBI amendment process, in the event it is not, as the senator says, it is not appreciated in the central Kenya region, you ask yourself, what of the other areas or what of the other regions? We have seen what has happened within the coastal region. I can tell you maybe some of the opinions that I've had of the northern Kenya region, but where we are getting it wrong is the process to amending the Constitution as envisaged under Article 257 and Article 10 of the Constitution is a civic education process whereby all Kenyans are enlightened on the contents of the constitutional amendment bill. When that Kenyans appreciate the contents, that is when they can clearly vote a yes or a no. As we speak right now, the majority of Kenyans who are not appreciative of the contents of the amendment bill itself. So let us stop castigating the senator because he has rights under the Constitution. In as much as the politicians are questioning the political effects, they seem to be reading so much into it, but I think it can be a lesson learning process whereby they can look at the letter, evaluate its contents, borrow lessons, and maybe strategize as much. I can tell you, by the way, I've read the report. It has some good things and it has some bad things in my view. So every Kenyan should equally appreciate the contents to have an informed view of it.
Honorable Gakuyu, now, do you think this is a reflection of its popularity in the country, and what can be done if this is true? Though he did admit that this was not a scientific survey he did, but if it has any weight, what then can those who are proponents of the BBI do to ensure that they get that amount of popularity that it needs to sail through?
One is that because the head of state has twice appealed to Kenyans to support this particular document or this particular process. And the loser in this particular game is not Honorable Raila Odinga at the end of the day. So the embarrassment will be to the head of state in case this particular process will come to failure at the end of the day. So the head of state has a very serious duty to make sure that he reorganizes himself when he organizes his house in a manner that he will be able to cope with the hiccups of the BBI. And I am sure that, in fact, he has a direction because to resolve this, because it is not yet lost. Because there can be what we call a persuasion process, where first and foremost he can convince the Mount Kenya leadership. If we can be able to convince the Mount Kenya leadership, this is not isolating the Tangatanga and the issues of Kieleweke. He brings the whole combination of leadership of Mount Kenya region together, then he listens to them. After listening to them, then he will understand what are the hiccups. And by understanding that, he will be able to come up with a new strategy, new roadmap on how to approach the Wanjiku in this particular time. Okay. The time is not over, and the document is not yet to the ground. I am sure if the Hound of State will realize that probably the reasons why the document is not popular is probably it is not containing some contents in it, then he has a mechanism. I am sure when he gets the floor of the House, probably, I am not sure whether there is any mechanism of uttering in a single word.
Getting to persuade them would require some changes.
This at this point where the document is,
yeah.
I believe the only point he can do is to persuade the team which is opposing. So that at least he can garner what we call a support from the opposing team,
yeah.
And then that will convince them to convince Wanjiku to approve this document. But if we are going to the to what we call to the ballot, divided the way the central region is divided, it is very clear that the results will not go the president's way. This particular document will get a very good shock in the central region.
Okay.
Therefore, it is high time he must reorganize his strategy and find a mechanism on how to propel it, because it tells you the plans that he's put on the road for now, they are not working.
Now, you've talked about the GMR issues. Those are very real issues of concern for locals in central region. So how can it even sail through if some of these issues are not addressed? Because Wanjiku cannot just be addressed with words. Some of them, these people need to see real changes and perhaps some hope through the BBI.
Me, I can tell you, Wanjiku in Mount Kenya is watching very keenly that the document is containing areas of how to deal with areas to do with youth entrepreneurship. And there is a window here of 7 years which it has expressed. But there is no single, any single item which talks about what about if my farming or if my produce will arrive to a point where the market is not favorable. There is nothing which is talking about milk, nothing talks of coffee, nothing talks of tea, nothing talks of anything which comes from that particular region. And therefore, it was the highest expectation that that particular element will be addressed in this particular document. Therefore, when it is shut out of the document, I don't find any meaningful persuasion that we will be able to get into the mind of Wanjiku and convert her to accept this particular document. And therefore, I can tell you for sure, this document in Central Region, count my word, it is going to get what we call total fail in Mount Kenya. Because at the point it is not reversible. You cannot reverse the document from the Electoral Commission back to the committee. It's not possible. Okay. And therefore, the point it's either approve or disapprove. And therefore, I am not speaking for the rest of the areas, but I can speak on the areas that I come from. And I can tell you, Kangata was very bold to tell the president the correct position. That is the position on the ground. And if the president will lead this before, it's better either distance himself from the embarrassment or accept whatever the verdict will be given by Wanjiku, because that's the really shock you will get.
I think it's a little too late for distancing right now. Now, Bashir, I do believe you can't speak authoritatively on issues that affect people in the north. Do you feel that the BBI is suffering the same, would suffer a similar fate, given how the issues of these people are addressed, the populations in the north, in the north of the country?
I mean, Trix, I could hear the sentiments of the Mheshimiwa, but I'm asking myself, when I have a look at the report, especially with respect to the political representation opportunities that it is creating for the central Kenya region, when you compare it with the northern Kenya region, I think there's a big difference. In the case of the Central Kenya region, Kiambu alone, according to this BBI amendment bill, Kiambu alone, I think, will bag about 6 constituencies. That is a win for that county, which is part of Central Kenya region. When you look at Garissa, Wajir, and Mandera, they have only been given one single constituency within Mandera County. I think in a way, when I look at it, this report or this amendment bill as it has to some extent appreciated the 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. If I'm asking myself, looking at it, especially people from Northern Kenya region, the way they were looking at it or the way the rest of the others are looking at it, they were seeing it as a document that has, in a way, looked at the interest more of the people of the Central Kenya region. I'm asking myself, in the event, noting that the people of Central Kenya region are now questioning the contents of the bill, in the event they say that they have not maybe benefited in a way, what will the people of Northern Kenya region say of the same? Yeah. So I think the political effect there will be drastic because we expect the proponents of the bill, being the former premier and the president, those are the 2 regions that we expect them to at first convince to maybe pass this bill before it is forwarded to the rest of Kenyans. And you look at it, when you look at it under the Constitution, it is required that around 24 of the county assemblies to pass it for it to breathe its first life. So I think, again, Matrix, the other issue that I also wish to underscore is, yesterday I was following again the critics of this letter that has been written by Honorable Kangata. Kangata is a member of the Jubilee Party coalition. He is the Senate Majority Whip. He reports to the party leader, being the president, when he writes such a letter, airing his opinion on a very important bill that is, in a way, president-sponsored. I think he's making a lot of sense because we expect him to report to his party leader, who is the president. We do not expect him to report to any other party leader. So I think what he did is right, in as much as others are questioning him politically, asking themselves how comes he never sought direct maybe audience with head of state, and those are issues that himself can share with us. Jix may also say this, that the likes of Junet and the others who are pro-BBI should equally write to Kenyans and their party leaders telling us every reason why we should vote for this bill. I think that will itself contribute to civic education. Let them enlighten us. Let them share with us why we need to vote for this bill. Kangata has just shown us one side of the coin. Let them show us the other side of the coin. I think it's a free space. It's a free democratic country. That is the kind of discourse we shall appreciate as Kenyans, and that is what we need to see our leaders. We do not expect leaders abusing or insulting each other on the basis of a very informed opinion researched upon by a senior member of the House, documenting it to the head of state, sharing it with the media, giving every Kenyan an opportunity to read the same. Let them equally give us theirs. We will evaluate it, read it, and give our opinion.
Thank you very much for bringing context to the debate. Bashir Suleiman is an advocate, while Honorable James Gakuyu is a member of Parliament for Embakasi North. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we shall be taking a look at what you need to do to survive the new year, some of the things you need to do in planning, especially when it comes to your finances, and some of the mistakes you need to avoid so that we don't have a repeat of 2020 and 2021 at a personal financial level. Stay tuned to Morning Express.
This is KT.